this life, you've brought this life to the world.
Wow.
And
There's a certain kind of silence that doesn't feel peaceful. It's the kind that vibrates just beneath the surface, humming in the headlines, leaking through the cracks of conversations nobody wants to have out loud. Meghan Markle, once a symbol of reinvention and resilience, is drowning in that silence right now. It's not the comfortable hush of royal protocol or the calm before a press tour. It's a silence filled with tension, a storm of whispers that have finally started to roar. For years, there were rumors, fleeting, shadowy suggestions that Meghan's pre-royal life was more complex than the fairy tale narrative allowed. They fluttered around internet forums, half remembered in blog comments and gossip columns. Yacht parties on the Mediterranean, evenings with the ultra-wealthy, a socialite circuit studded with names you wouldn't drop in polite company. Most people dismissed it. Just internet noise, the price of fame. But something has changed. The whispers are growing teeth. Stories that once sounded like jealous inventions are now being echoed by insiders, former friends, and even journalists who had previously held back. The spotlight isn't moving. It's locked on Meghan, and what's emerging isn't just a bad quote or an awkward interview. It's a web of connections, affiliations, and events that intersect with some of the darkest names in modern pop culture memory. Let's not sugarcoat it. The name Jeffrey Epstein now hovers in the margins of Meghan's story. Epstein, a figure synonymous with pain, power, and exploitation. His network stretched across finance, politics, entertainment. Meghan's name isn't there because she's accused of a crime, but because the line between proximity and involvement is starting to blur in the public mind. And in the court of public opinion, sometimes proximity alone is enough to ignite a fire. Before she was the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle was hustling like every ambitious actress trying to break into the upper echelons of Hollywood. The world she navigated was not the sanitized script of a network drama. It was a place where yacht parties weren't just indulgent getaways but shadowy networking events, where careers could be made or broken in a single night. The guest lists weren't just actors and models, but billionaires, tech moguls, foreign royals, and financiers. Sometimes, the names that kept cropping up were more infamous than famous. And Epstein was there, not always directly, but through the people who circled around him, the gravitational pull of his influence evident in every room. Multiple insiders now say Meghan wasn't just a passive guest at these events. She was known. She worked the room. She understood what it meant to be seen, to be remembered, to charm the right people at the right time. It wasn't illegal. It wasn't even unusual. But it was real. And as her fame grew, so did her desire for control over her narrative. That's when things started to get uncomfortable. Reports from inside major media houses detail how Meghan's team began working overtime to clean up her backstory. Calls were made, emails sent, journalists nudged, or even offered incentives to spike stories about her early Hollywood years, especially those that mentioned the yacht scene or linked her, even distantly, to Epstein's circle. One editor claims their outlet was promised an exclusive if they drop a piece connecting Meghan to certain high society gatherings. These aren't the moves of someone with nothing to hide. And for a while, the strategy worked. Stories disappeared. Photos were scrubbed. The narrative tightened. But truth has a way of resurfacing, especially in an era when everyone has receipts. Former friends who once bit their tongues are now talking. Reporters are sharing emails and messages that paint a clear picture. There was an organized effort to erase parts of Meghan's past from the public record. And ironically, the harder you work to erase something, the more people want to know what you're hiding. There's an important distinction to be made. Being at a party with someone questionable doesn't make you guilty by association. But when you go to great lengths to pretend you were never there, that's what makes people suspicious. That's what breaks trust. Meghan's carefully curated image, a woman who triumphed over adversity, who broke the mold, who stood for justice, is starting to show cracks. The Epstein connection, even if indirect, doesn't fit with the story she's been selling. And it's not the past people are angry about. It's the cover-up. Timing, as always, is everything. Meghan's latest Netflix project has underperformed, her team is scrambling, and the public's attention is sharper than ever. People are asking, who is Meghan Markle really? The answer now feels more complicated and more compelling than ever before. Hollywood thrives on reinvention. Change your look, your name, your backstory, whatever it takes to survive. But there's a difference between reinvention and erasure. Meghan didn't just tweak the script. She tried to delete entire chapters. Back in her early days, she was ambitious, not in a vague, dreamy way, but with a clear plan. She understood the unspoken rules, the strategic relationships, the calculated charm, the importance of being seen and then, when necessary, vanishing just enough to stay mysterious. One PR insider who worked with rising stars during that era said Meghan had surgical precision when it came to managing her image. She knew how to enter a room, who to stand beside, when to smile for the cameras, and when to slip away. It worked. She moved up, from bit parts in game shows to a supporting role on a hit series. But the leap from B-list actress to royal-level fame felt almost engineered. It wasn't luck. It was the result of networking in rooms where the currency wasn't money, but silence, beauty, and adherence to an invisible playbook. The yacht party circuit wasn't about luxury. It was about access. Producers, moguls, politicians, all mingling away from prying eyes. Women like Meghan were there for a reason, not for scandal, not necessarily for anything illegal, but for opportunity. That's how the game was played. But some of the names at those gatherings have since become radioactive. Epstein wasn't always a pariah. For years, he was just another rich man funding charities, throwing lavish events, giving out favors. His connections were deep and far-reaching, and Meghan, by proximity, ended up in the same rooms. People remember her. They remember who brought her. One former socialite who attended those yacht gatherings said, Meghan moved like someone who understood the stakes. She wasn't naive. She was selective. She was remembered. That's what's raising eyebrows now. Not that she was there, but that she later tried to pretend she wasn't. The public doesn't expect celebrities to have spotless pasts. They want honesty, or at least a little humility. The real issue is the reaction. The full court press to erase, to intimidate, to control. Multiple journalists have admitted they were warned not to mention certain names in the same article as Meghan. Some were offered other stories as a trade-off. That's not normal. That's crisis management. And it didn't stop with the press. There are allegations that Meghan's team hired firms to do digital cleanup, removing links, pushing positive SEO, burying keywords. In the age of the internet, nothing ever truly vanishes, but she certainly tried. And that effort only draws more attention. It's not about Epstein himself. It's about the world he represented, the elite circles that used beauty and charm as currency, that traded favors and secrets, that operated above the rules. Meghan existed in that world. She knows how bad it would look if the public connected the dots. What people are grappling with isn't the past. It's the performance. Meghan's public persona as a champion of truth and transparency doesn't match the behind-the-scenes effort to keep things hidden. When someone markets themselves as a voice for the voiceless, but works overtime to control the narrative, it doesn't sit right. And it's not just tabloids digging anymore. Former allies are distancing themselves. Media outlets that once protected her are now publishing the stories they held back. The tide is turning, not because of new rumors, but because the old ones are undeniable. The fallout isn't just headlines. It's happening in the rooms Meghan once relied on for her ascent. The very institutions that boosted her status are now sidestepping, pretending they never really knew her. Brand partners are getting cold feet. Hollywood insiders are whispering about reputational risk. Even the royals, famously tight-lipped, are said to be reviewing how much they actually knew about her before rolling out the red carpet. What's making things worse is Meghan's refusal to face the controversy head-on. Public statements are vague. Her camp brushes off every accusation as baseless gossip or character assassination, even as journalists produce receipts. There's a difference between slander and uncomfortable truths. The public's patience for PR spin is wearing thin. One entertainment journalist who stayed silent for years recently released a thread describing how she was approached, twice, to kill a story about Meghan's yacht party years. Not because it was false, but because it didn't fit the new narrative. The editor didn't kill the story out of compassion. It was part of a deal. And you have to wonder how many other deals were made to sanitize the past. The uncomfortable truth is that Meghan didn't rise through that scene alone. Some of the people she met at those parties, the ones who helped open doors, are also connected to Epstein's world. Now, as Meghan's name shows up in old communications, So do theirs. Some have already gone dark. Others are lawyering up. This isn't just Meghan's story anymore.